Good morning from sunny London. Yeah, that's never the case. We are still in #Movember while this video is all about the brand new 24-200 f4 4-6.3 VR native Nikon Z mount lens. I never expected that this lens actually could be the potential for the best vlogging lens for the Nikon Z system. And we're gonna look into that today. Shall I put a mask on?
What's a flame, guys?
Oh, right, okay, yeah, no, nothing to worry about, just a flame. Yeah. Oh, wow. What a view. Literally everything. This must be like 10 or so million easily, this house.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's some serious money.
Serious money, yeah.
Wow, that was pretty cool. Yeah, so I was basically just chatting with the guys that were doing the construction outside. They were on a lunch break and they were like, yeah, just come with us and check out the roof because it's got a cool view. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, let's do that. And yeah, they were kind enough to let me into the top, take a couple of pictures and say, yeah, just tag us on Instagram. And I'll, yeah, happily to do that. Check out also these guys on Instagram. Really cool builders. But you may be thinking, Michael, just get to the point and tell me about the lens. Welcome to Point Hill. One of the best viewing points in Greenwich, right next to Greenwich Park. But this spot here literally almost never get any tourists, so you get secluded, beautiful views in here. There's obviously quite often some locals here enjoying a nice sunset picnic, but otherwise this place is empty. All right, I get it, you get it, it's a pretty cool view. Now about the lens. It's a small, compact lens that at 24, it actually is the least extended, but the range that you get all the way to 200 makes the lens a little bit bigger. But the biggest thing about this lens is that it's a lens with a built-in VR. And here's a couple of VR tests. Currently, I'm walking somewhat normal walking speed, holding the camera on the tripod underneath, and there's no VR. IBIS is turned off, which turns off the lens VR too, and no electronic stabilization. Now I'm walking at the same speed and I've turned VR on. No electronic stabilization. Same speed walking, VR on, and electronic stabilization is on as well. It adds a little bit of a crop, but it should be slightly more stabilized. And now IBIS is on sport and electronic stabilization is completely off. And lastly, IBIS is on sport and electronic VR is on. How does it look? I don't like that the electronic VR is cropping a little bit in, but that's what it has to do. Personally, I think if you just have IBIS together with lens VR on setting, not on sport, and no electronic stabilizations, so you don't get the nasty crop, and you walk a little bit smoother, and you try to not shake as much, this produces some really good results. Ideally, yes, I would have preferred if my 20mm f1.8s had VR so that the IBIS could work with the lens VR and produce some smooth results, because I like the field of view of a 20mm and the extra depth of field separation of 1.8. Obviously, I think a lens that I would really like Nikon to produce in Z mount would be something at around, I don't know, 16-35, 2.8 with VR. Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, actually, maybe like even completely thinking out of the box here, what about like a 20mm or a 24mm, well, ideally 16mm, f4, just f4, and that's it, prime. but like a pancake, so that the lens is short, small. Because it's f4, it doesn't need to be big. Because it would be a prime, it wouldn't do any zooming in, it wouldn't need to be super long. So that would be a lens that I would really like to have. f4, we'll live with f4. Slightly wider than 24, but smaller lens, pancakey lens. I've seen on the Z roadmap, on the pancakes that there are will be like 28 or 40 millimeter. They're not going to be very wide angle and good for vlogging. But a pancakey small lens, 24 millimeter, even 24 f4, just that, prime, but small pancake. Ah, how amazing would that be? All right, at 24 millimeter, at f4, because at 24 it's on the f4, and it moves to 200 millimeter, and then at 6.3. Actually, it's 6.3 earlier, but never mind that. At 24 millimeters, it's f4, which gives just about enough tone in the background, bokeh, whatever, yeah. But it's VR, so IBIS is working together with VR in the lens. And I prefer, to be perfectly honest, the look of my 20mm f1.8s lens, which isn't stabilized, but it's slightly wider, and obviously it gives more background separation, background bokeh. But this, with VR, I'm getting a feeling that it performs better when you're just walking around. And it's amazing that you actually can zoom with just one lens all the way to 200, slap in the X mode, so you're at 300, and the results are pretty amazing. Like all the shots I've shown you so far are handheld. I'm just holding this camera by either the grip or from underneath. I've got a little tripod thingy that I'm vlogging on. So as one lens that can do this range with VR and somewhat separation, because f4 even on a full frame lens is decent, that is quite a choice, I think. And just while I was getting some B-roll, suddenly a little bit of light has hit the city skyline. So yeah, definitely back to the front of Point Hill to get that shot. Look at that. Check out the view. The sun made a beautiful appearance and lit the whole skyline. Absolutely amazing. Like, if you remember what I was talking, in what conditions I was talking like 50 minutes ago, it's nothing like it. All this is beautifully lit up by sunshine. A moment ago, the city cluster was in sunshine, and behind it, we're back to grey, moody, vile visibility again. And here's examples of video shot on a tripod, as it was a little bit windy and I shot it at 200mm in DX mode, meaning 300mm equivalent. I had to put the stabilization on, yet it still looks like it's not moving the frame at all, yet the sharpness in 4K looks absolutely amazing. For full disclosure, this is currently on loan to me from Nikon UK, just to test it out, because I tend to work with Nikon from time to time. I own two of my own Z6s, and currently Z6 is shooting me with their 20mm f1.8s lens that I absolutely love for vlogging. But this is pretty much the same size of the 20mm f1.8s, unlike some of the other Z lenses that in order to go wide even, you still have to unscrew it a little bit and then it's wide, and then if you go fully twist all the way to the other end, it goes to the long end of the zoom. Just like the 14 to 30, it's not at 14 well it's completely collapsed, it still has to be extended, while this at 24mm it's completely collapsed, and that's what it is. And like this, it's a pretty decent vlog setup. Obviously I have the 45-degree mirror UU rig that's currently on this camera that I'm filming now because I can see myself, and yeah, this actually works. And just having one lens to be able to zoom into 200, that it's got also VR, and all these shots that you saw me shoot were actually completely handheld just by holding the camera like this. And if you want a 3-point stabilizations, I even recommend that you touch it against your eye, so it touches here and both hands. 3-point stabilization always helps for long telephoto, and I am blown away that I was shooting in DX mode at 200mm, so it's an equivalent of 300mm, and it was just not shaky at all. And even I'm finding that this VR lens, when you're panning slowly, it doesn't do the same that sometimes IBIS on the Z6 or my Z6 on long telephoto lenses where they're not stabilized was doing, where it just had this jerky motion. This with VR seems to be panning. If you pan smoothly, it seems to be panning smoothly rather than jump and try to hold on to that and then jump. So I am so impressed with this lens. I am considering to maybe even buy it. So I was just checking on camerapricebuster.co.uk, which this video isn't sponsored by, but I use this website for comparing current prices of equipment like bodies or lenses, because they always track multiple websites and tell you the website that has the best price for that bit of equipment. And currently, as it looks, the 20mm 1.8s is for the exactly same price of £849 here in the UK that this lens is. I'd be really torn which one to get. Well, obviously I already have the 20mm 1.8s, but this with VR looks like a really nice lens to just take with you on a one lens camera, you know, walkabout. I've never actually done a dedicated review video of the 20mm f1.8s, but some of my vlogs that you would have seen and videos that I've done at home in the studio, they were shot on the 20mm f1.8s, and I do love this lens. But the choice between these two, well, it would all depend what other lenses you've got, I guess, but this lens, amazing. And if you've been following my stories on Instagram, you would have noticed that I have on loan the Z6 II, the 24 to 200mm VR lens, this one, as well as the 70 to 200 2.8 VR lens, which is a beast of a lens, but it will be in a separate video that I will dedicate to that lens. And in a completely separate video, I will be doing a Z6 II specific time-lapse review, because I've done the Z6 time-lapse review and it's one of my most popular videos, as I am a time-lapse photographer, and I did test already quite a lot the Z6 II in terms of time-lapses, and you will find all these findings that I have for you in the upcoming video. As with any Nikon native Z lenses, if I want to time-lapse, I would do a slightly longer exposure, press the button and twist the lens a little bit out so it stays, obviously while I'm taking the shot, so it stays at that f-stop and doesn't move during the time-lapse. And after the time-lapse finished, I would just click in the lens back to make sure it doesn't fall out, because the Z lenses seem to want to open, close apertures during time-lapse rather than stick to the set aperture.
And as the clouds changed from a dull single gradient of grey into a multi-detailed layers of clouds, I decided to shoot a couple of time lapses and really like how this one over Canary Wharf turned out. And then I pointed my second time lapse also at 200mm towards the Shard, where you can see the London Eye on the left and St. Paul's on the right.
And if you're ever in Greenwich and want to find out the best views, check out this place. It's called Point Hill, as well as obviously Greenwich Park, that I've got a whole video dedicated to while I'm showing you all the best views around Greenwich Park, and you can check out that video in this link. I do hope that you enjoyed my review of the 24-200 Nikon Z mount VR lens, because it's a pretty good lens and I am seriously thinking about getting it. Hope you liked the time lapses that I just shared with you. Hopefully you liked the stabilization comparison with the VR, IBIS and electronic stabilization in the Z6 II, and let me know what you think about it. I think it's a brilliant competitor in the best vlogging lens for a Z system lens, because it's really close in, you know, being the best lens against the 20mm f1.8s that I have and I love, but it doesn't have VR. But it's got a slightly better look. So, you know, these two lenses are completely different. One shouldn't compare them. And that will be it for today's video. Thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully you found it useful. And please hit the like button because it helps the channel. And subscribe if you haven't already. And guys, I will see you in the next video, which most likely will be the time-lapse review of the Z6 II. Or a review of the 70-200 2.8. I don't know yet. But yeah, that will be next.